The 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, Christian McCaffrey, and Robert Saleh do it again. In a game, even at home, where they're slight favorites over the Falcons. Most NFL fans thought the Falcons, they just beat the Bills. Monday Night Football. They not only beat the Bills, but they bullied the Bills and Josh Allen. There's no chance that the injured, battered, bruised, beat up 49ers were gonna beat the Falcons. This team's about to fly. This team's about to ascend in Atlanta. Nope. It still proves that coaching matters a lot in the NFL. And bottom line is that the coaching mismatch between the 49ers and Falcons was too much to overcome. This wasn't the sexiest victory by San Francisco. This wasn't the most impressive outing we've seen this NFL season on Sunday Night Football or by even the 49ers. But this is a game worth discussing for a variety of reasons. I want to talk about the 49ers being 5-2 with probably one of the most impressive coaching performances I've ever seen in my life through 7 weeks. And we'll get into why that is. The Atlanta Falcons and the severe roller coaster that they continue to be and why that is the case. And then also breaking down what the potential is for the 49ers and the Falcons for the rest of the season within the West, the South, and the NFC. And then, man, Christian McCaffrey for MVP. That's where I want to start. Get in the comments, guys. Don't forget to like, Gronk, Spike, the like, and subscribe if you're not a jabroni. Now, MVP of the game belongs to Christian McCaffrey. Tonight, he led the 49ers in rushing and receiving, once again proving to be white Michael Jordan, wearing the number 23. Also, basically Superman for this offense. 24 carries and 7 catches. That's 31 total touches for 129 rushing yards, 5.4 per carry, 2 touchdowns. Both of their touchdowns, and again, 72 yards receiving, including a massive third down conversion to extend the game-sealing drive from the slot, no less, not out of the backfield. This guy is just putting up that Hall of Fame resume, and if you don't think Christian McCaffrey's a Hall of Famer, in a game where Collinsworth and this NBC broadcast tried to shove Bijan Robinson down our throats. Understandably so. Bijan had been having a breakout season in terms of breaking out to the public consciousness, breaking out to a level of like superstardom. I'm the best back in the league. It's not even close. I'm an MVP candidate type of season. And good on NBC to focus on the running back position, more so than the quarterback position tonight between Bijan and McCaffrey. And it was mostly Bijan focused. But the older gentleman said, hold up, bro. I can still do this at an elite level. And McCaffrey had his best rushing day of the season by far. The 49ers looked like the 49ers running the football tonight. And even when Brian Robinson carried the ball, they looked like the 49ers. He had 36 yards, 4 yards per carry on 9 attempts. And overall, the Niners ran for 174 yards, averaging 4.5 per carry, and putting up both touchdowns on the ground. So the 49ers having a vintage throwback Kyle Shanahan outing here, running the football against Raheem Morris, his buddy, right? And this vaunted Falcons defense that ranked first in the NFL against the pass entering this week. They mostly did their job from that vantage point, right? But the 49ers found the flaw, and I think they exposed it to a certain degree. The Falcons had not been great all year against the run. It is interesting that the Bills weren't able to totally expose that. maybe because their defense really didn't give them a chance to. But the 49ers were able to get ahead and stay ahead in this game, leading at half 10-3 and leading at the end 20-10. So Christian McCaffrey, man, 129 yards rushing, 72 yards receiving. Again, 7 catches. You look at this guy's season so far, what he's doing is historic. I know that people looked at him before the year as a fantasy bust, potentially. He's too old, too many injuries. Oh, he's not as explosive as he used to be. Not the same player. But man, this guy has an argument for MVP, like Offensive Player of the Year. You think about how many touches he's had this season. He's had 108 carries through 7 games and 60 targets, 46 catches. He has 46 catches, 444 receiving yards, and 4 total touchdowns. I believe that's 3 now. So I don't know if those stats are actually correct up to the Falcons game. That might have been previous to the Falcons game. I might actually have to look that up because it feels wrong. So 25, 31, 39, 46. Now he has 53 catches. My bad. And then 132 carries. Guys, this guy has 53 receptions on the season in 7 games for over 500 yards. You know how insane that is? Like, he probably is a better receiver than he is a rusher at this point. But with all the injuries to Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk out for the start of the season, George Kittle out for weeks, barely made an impact tonight as a receiver. He made a major impact as a blocker. We'll talk about that. Right? Kendrick Bourne popping on the scene for the team, but having numerous injuries. Jawan Jennings at wide receiver. McCaffrey has been the team's leading receiver, leading ball carrier, leading just vibe guy, energy guy, just like keeping the team together, piecing them together, like the glue of the team, the soul of the team, the heart of the team. They've lost Fred Warner, their captain, their vocal leader. They've lost George Kittle for a stretch, their like fun vibe guy, right? They lost Nick Bosa early in the year, one of their biggest specimens on the team. But who's been there week in, week out? Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey has been there. And this guy has been the MVP of the team, one of the MVPs of the league. Just in terms of what he's doing, the amount of carries, the amount of touches, the amount of first downs, the amount of catches from multiple alignments, the way that he's able to just every single game. Guys, he doesn't have a game with less than 6 catches this season. That's like prime Wes Welker numbers. That's like prime AB numbers. That's like top-notch reception leader of the NFL numbers. That is insane stuff. Like, if I were to look up the leading receivers in the NFL, he must be up there. Like, I don't even really know, but he must be up there in terms of receiving stats this season. Like, in terms of receptions. So he is, before this game, he was 3rd. After this game, he's still 3rd, but he's 1 below Puka Nacua, who missed a game, and then he's only below Jamar Chase. Other than that, Christian McCaffrey, a running back, is 3rd in the NFL by 1 catch behind Puka for receptions. Like, Hall of Famer, one of the most gifted football players I've ever seen, one of the most well-rounded football players I've ever seen, one of the toughest football players I've ever seen, one of the best running backs, in my opinion, of all time. He could play in any offense. He's got elusiveness, vision, quickness. He doesn't quite have that explosion anymore, but he showcased it a little bit tonight. Breaking tackles, like all the traits you want. Leadership, like all of it, right? The only real issue he's had throughout his career is injuries. That's really it, man. So Christian McCaffrey deserves a tip of the hat. Just everything was made of Bijan tonight, and the 49ers and Salah shut down Bijan. You know how difficult it is to keep this guy to 2.9 yards per carry? Bijan Robinson has been otherworldly. Like, what Collinsworth was saying tonight about him is not crazy at all. He has been by far the best running back in the NFL, or at least, I would say a good margin. Like, watching him play to play, run to run, his receiving ability this year, he's been on pace to shatter records. And he had only 40 yards rushing tonight. He did also have 52 yards receiving, 6 catches, and a touchdown. He's very much used like McCaffrey. Very much the same. But he did not have nearly the explosiveness or nearly the impact tonight that CMC had. And that is all a credit to the 49ers front seven, their linebacking play tonight, their defensive lines, their defensive ends, the way they were setting the edge against the outside zone, Robert Saleh's scheme. I thought that was by far the best defensive performance I've seen against the Falcons run game, who until this game, up to this point, had been leading the NFL in rushing. That was an extremely impressive outing. Guys, I don't think you understand how impressive this game is for the 49ers from a coaching perspective. So I want to go through the Niners depth chart and talk about what they're dealing with right now. Like, not just the injuries. Everyone knows about the names, knows about the injuries. I think a good portion of you know who's not playing. But when you're realizing who's playing for them, it's actually insane. So first of all, Kendrick Bourne has been like one of the stories of the season so far at wide receiver, because he literally was cut by the Patriots before the season started and picked up by the 49ers a couple weeks into the year without a training camp to actually get involved in the offense, and basically been called washed by the Patriots, who up until this year had one of the worst receiving cores in the NFL for the past 5 years in a row. So Kendrick Bourne, right? They've got Sky Moore out there playing and getting the ball. He was cut by the Chiefs, right? Or traded by the Chiefs, but basically cut, right? Jawan Jennings is playing on 2 twisted ankles and a broken, I don't know, whatever he's got, right? Connor, might as well be. Connor Colby is starting at left guard. He's a 7th round pick. And he's only starting at left guard because their left guard's injured. Okay? Their center, Jake Brendel, got injured. I think they said something like he had started 58 games in a row. Jake Brendel got injured in the middle of the game and replaced by Matt Hennessy, another street free agent from the Falcons. Mac Jones, who was Trevor Lawrence's backup last year. Just think about that's how bad you're thought of, that you're backing up Trevor Lawrence. Mac Jones is starting at quarterback, a guy that basically everyone thought sucked basically a season ago. Brian Robinson was cut by the Commanders because they said, we have a undrafted running back that's better than you. He's playing a role in the offense. So that's the offensive side of the ball, okay? Then on defense, you have Mykel Williams, who is a first-round pick, but a rookie, starting at defensive end. You have Sam Aquanu or something like that, I think is how you say his name. Street free agent pickup last season. He's had a small role within the defense. He's a starter on the other side. Kalia Davis, a 6th-round pick in 2022, and a role player in the NFL, like a 4th defensive tackle, is starting. Jordan Elliott, who couldn't make the Cleveland Browns, is starting. Guys, they have not only Nick Bosa out, but also their best interior rusher, Yetur Gross-Matos, has been out as well. Bryce Huff, who was discarded by Philadelphia, he's starting, and he had a phenomenal game, and we'll talk about him. At linebacker, some guy named Tatum Bethune, who is a 7th-round pick from 2024, is starting. D. Winters, a 2023 6th-round pick, who I happen to like a lot and have liked a lot, but still a 6th-round pick, okay? Renardo Green gets injured in the middle of the game. In the first quarter, he is a second-round pick from 2024, a good cornerback, okay? They just replace him with a fifth-round pick from last year in Darrell Luter Jr., who actually played pretty well. Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa are mid-round picks at safety, third and fourth-round picks. Solid players. Mustafa's a good player, but again, a fourth-round pick. Marcus Segal plays a role in the defense. He's this year's fifth-round pick. Lenore, who is actually a very good football player, but he was a fifth-round pick. Upton Stout out of the game. Chase Lucas, cut by Detroit, a practice squad corner, was starting at nickel corner because Upton Stout was injured. Guys, do you realize who is playing on this defense? Like, other than Lenore, 90% of NFL fans don't even know who these guys are. I just went through the entire defense. They might know Michael Williams because he was a first-round pick. Other than that, like, how many guys do you think the average NFL fan knows on this defense? That is who just allowed 10 points to the offense that was leading the NFL in yards. Or I think they were first or second. Might have been second. First in rushing offense. This is your starting lineup. Let me go through it. Michael Williams, Jordan Elliott, Kalia Davis, Sam Aquanu, D. Winters, Tatum Bethune, Renardo Green, who got hurt, so Darrell Luter Jr., Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa, Lenore, and Chase Lucas. That was your defense for the 49ers tonight. And they played their ass off. They played their ass off. They might not play this well for the rest of the year. Tatum Bethune was unbelievable in this game. He is, like I said, a last year 7th round pick, 2024. And they say the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, and John Lynch can't draft. 7th round pick gets the start tonight. In for Fred Warner, only the best linebacker in the league, and some people think a top 10 linebacker of all time. Playing in for Fred Warner on 1 week's notice. Playing against Bijan Robinson. And he has 10 tackles in the game, 1 tackle for loss, was just a madman, and was key to the pressure tonight, getting in the face of Penix, was flying, had great energy, solid in coverage. I thought he played phenomenal. Malik Mustafa had a very good game. His presence and physicality was on point. And with him in the secondary, they didn't allow any big explosives like they did against Baker. Right? I thought that Luter played solid for a 4th cornerback. I thought he did a solid job. He gave up some catches, but overall played really well. Bryce Huff played unreal. I thought Bryce Huff was one of the best players in this game. He had numerous pressures. He had a strip sack. He had a tackle for loss. And yeah, he was key to the end of this finish and the end of the game. D. Winters was rather quiet. Lenore was rather quiet in a good way because he was mostly covering Drake London, and Drake London didn't do too much in this game. Michael Williams was key in setting the edge. Sam Aquanu had a solid game, had a sack, tackle for loss, also using his size to set the edge. I also thought that, who else? Chase Lucas at nickel corner had a great game. He's got to play more, man. This guy was legit. He almost had a pick 6 on the 4th down and 1 where the Falcons decide to go for it. They throw the out route again for Drake London, undercut it, almost had a pick 6. Also, Jordan Elliott, who was back in the lineup, I thought had an impact as a pass rusher a little bit on the inside. But yeah, the defense, Saleh's blitzing, I thought this was their adjustments. Like, the 49ers the last few weeks looked like legitimately a bottom 5 defense in football because they didn't have Nick Bosa, they couldn't get to the quarterback, and they just continuously played zone coverage and rush 4. Zone coverage, rush 4, zone coverage, rush 4, zone coverage, rush 4. And it did not work to save their lives. And finally, Robert Saleh. This is what a very good coach does, right? This is why I'm not a fan of Aaron Glenn. I wasn't a fan of Aaron Glenn in Detroit, right? This might not work every week for Robert Saleh because he doesn't have the best personnel. We just went through it. But he adjusted. He said, we are not getting the quarterback with 4 guys. And we're clearly not playing that great in zone coverage. So he ramped up man coverage. They played a lot more man coverage tonight. And as I've been saying in past 49er reviews, you guys have been hearing me talk. The Niners secondary, their corner position is actually pretty good. If they actually decide to play man, they're pretty good at it, but they largely don't. So they actually shifted to saying our strength of our defense is now our secondary. And we need to take chances blitzing. And he found creative ways to get pressure on Penix. And some key moments too. Early in the game, middle of the game, late in the game. I loved the one particular blitz where they sent Mustafa, or it might have been Jair Brown, and then Bethune looped over it. That was really nice. I love that. The overload. That was sexy. But yeah, the 49ers defense, just the players playing above their heads and above their level of talent, the belief. I was impressed by how well they communicated, considering no Fred Warner and all these new starters in there. Offensively, I was impressed by their physicality. I was impressed by the run game and how that got going. I thought Mac did a good job of managing the game tonight. I didn't think he played great, but I definitely didn't think this was a bad game by Mac Jones. I felt like he played a really good pass defense. The Falcons have been extremely legitimate in that regard this season. They're extremely creative with their blitzes. This is typically a type of defense that would give the Niners passing offense a lot of issues because the Niners do struggle in their interior offensive line, and they can be had on these looping blitzes and these simulated pressures and these overloads with immobile Mac Jones back there. And I thought Mac, got the ball out quick. He understood when there was wasn't gonna be anything there, or that he would rather not take a sack and just get the ball out. The interception was not his fault. Juwan Jennings sold. He basically dropped the ball into the hands of the defender. Was not his fault. He only took one sack. He made some key throws in the game. Demarcus Robinson even dropped a bomb that they could have a huge play on third down. They dropped the ball there. And yeah, I didn't think Mac did anything great, really. It wasn't nearly as impressive as the Rams game or even the Cardinals game. But I thought just his ability to not make mistakes, have the team just understand the game, understand how his defense is playing, and then just make the right decisions. And a couple big third down throws. They were actually very good on third down tonight. If I were to check that, I want to say they were 70% on third down. They were 9 for 15. So that's pretty good as an offense, right? And then Mac made some scrambles. He made some extension plays, one to McCaffrey. So overall, I thought he played a solid game. Nothing special. Juwan Jennings looked a little bit better tonight, but still, not overly explosive. Kendrick Bourne did not have the typical 100-yard game that he's been having, but, he was out there. Kittle actually didn't catch a pass. He only had 2 targets, but he was key in the blocking as well. Extremely key. For the Falcons, Kyle Pitts did have a pretty good game. He had 7 catches for 62 yards and felt like he won a lot of his one-on-ones and his matchups in this game. I think specifically he was mostly covered by Mustafa. Darnell Mooney, and he also caught a bunch of screens. Darnell Mooney, 3 for 68, could have had another big one near the end of the game. London was held in check, 4 for 42 on 10 targets. So whether it was Lucas or Lenore covering him, great job by those guys to be able to hold this guy, who I think is a top 12 receiver in the NFL, to only 42 yards. Defensively for the Falcons, I didn't notice Jesse Bates too much. He did have 10 tackles. I think that speaks to your safety, 10 tackles. McCaffrey was getting to the second level a lot. Caden Ellis, I thought, had a strong game, as he typically does. He did give up. It's not really his fault because there was a tight end crossing his face. It was a well-schemed play by Shanahan on third down and long where McCaffrey went up the seam and there was a tight end crossing his face. Wasn't really Ellis's fault, but Ellis had to read the inside, and that left the outside open for McCaffrey. But I thought Ellis, he's always good. He's one of my favorite linebackers to watch. Xavier Watts, I thought, did a good job when he played in the box. All their corners, I can't really say they played poorly because it's not like they really gave up a lot of big plays. Mike Hughes had 5 tackles. Zach Harrison had a few impressive plays. He had a sack and 2 tackles for loss, but only 1 sack. Onyemata didn't have, I think, a super strong game. Typically, he's been a little bit better in the run game. Diablo got injured, which I thought was a pretty big deal. And this was a very, 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 very quiet game for the rookies of the Falcons. We didn't see really anything from Pierce. He was very quiet in this game. I don't even know. Did Jalen Walker even play in this game? Like, I feel like I didn't even see him play. Was he inactive? He might have been. Yeah, he didn't even play. So, like, they were missing him. They were missing Billy Bowman. Billy Bowman's pretty big for them. But yeah, I was like, yeah. But Pierce was very quiet in this game. Leonard Floyd had one play, but other than that, didn't do too much. But overall, as a collective, I think the Falcons are a pretty impressive defense from a pass defense perspective. But again, just like Kyle management of this game, 23 first downs, the play calling, 66 plays ran, 324 yards. That's a pretty good day for the 49ers, considering their lineup, considering the offensive line injuries at center and left guard, considering who they're playing against, and extremely well, only 3 penalties for the Niners as well. And one of them was complete bullshit, by the way, on the Lenore pass interference. So, yeah, the Niners strictly outplayed them. They had more yards. They had more first downs. They had less penalties. They were better on third down. They were better in the red zone, 2 for 2, 1 for 2 for the Falcons. They were better in possession. I will say with the Falcons, they had the moment before the half that would have been big to make it 10-6, right? They could have maybe taken the lead there in the third quarter. If it's 10-6, it's 13-10 for the Falcons at that point, maybe potentially. Or at least it's tied 13-13 maybe. But yeah, so they have the intentional grounding for Michael Penix, which was a big play in the game, and they just got a little unfortunate there. Nothing really bad to say, but just Penix got to be a little bit better with that decision. And the Niners just cooked up some pressure in the right moment, but Penix has got to be a bit better there. And then another decision on 4th and 1 that was highly puzzling. So they go for it on 4th and 1, which was a fine decision. They could have kicked the field goal, I believe, to tie the game from 53 yards out. Maybe they didn't trust Romo. Romo isn't the best kicker. He was literally cut by the Patriots this year. He's essentially a backup kicker. So I understand why they went for it. It's 4th and 1, but you've got arguably the best running back in the league, and you throw the ball with a mediocre quarterback with him on the sidelines. So you don't even have number 7, Bijan Robinson, in the game after Chris Collinsworth has been waxing poetic about him for the entire game. Very puzzling sequence right there. I will say, though, the Niners just better coached team. Least talented than the Falcons. The Falcons have more talent, for sure, in this game, right? The Niners aren't healthy, but in this game, the Falcons have more talent than them and completely outcoached. Like, completely outcoached. Just out-schemed, out-coached, out-play called, situational, clock awareness, everything in between. Just completely outcoached. And that's a big Falcons flaw. I think when looking and assessing Penix, who did not have a good game, 21 for 38, 241 and a touchdown, makes it sound a bit better than I feel like it was. Like, if you had to ask me who played better, Penix or Mac Jones, I'd probably say Mac Jones. And I didn't think Mac Jones played that well, to be honest. So, like, Penix, here's the problem with Penix. Does he ever target the middle of the field? Like, ever? Does anyone notice that he never targets the middle of the field? He also, not very good against pressure, not very good at sensing or being awareness of the blitz, like very little awareness of the blitz. That was clear tonight. Not a quick trigger guy, holds the ball for a while, tries to find the big play down the field, always looking for that second level throw when maybe he should just take the small underneath completion, keep the offense on schedule. Typically the best offenses against the Niners are really good at like taking 4 yards. 3 yards, 4 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards, 6 yards. That's how you move the ball against the Niners more often than not. Tonight, they played a little bit of a different style, but I was also impressed by how the Niners corners held up in coverage against a pretty good Falcons receiving core. But I do wonder how much was left on the tape against this Niners defense. I do wonder if you were to watch the all-22, what Penix looked like. I just struggle with Penix. I don't think he moves very well. I don't think he's very good at re-platforming and resetting his feet and delivering the ball. I don't think he's very good against pressure. I don't think he targets the middle of the field. He has many issues with his game. He is still young, but I don't know. He feels like at best an average quarterback. When you're not clearly more talented than Mac Jones, I feel like there's a little bit of a problem in terms of who your franchise quarterback is. But the Falcons are 3-3. They're 1-2 on the road, which is a little bit of a problem. The 49ers are 5-2. They're 2-1 at home. The 49ers being 5-2, I mean, basically give Kyle Shanahan Coach of the Year at this point. Like that's just insane. Like, I just went through the lineup, guys. They play the Texans next week and the Giants the week after. Two pretty big games. I do wonder if they'll be favored against the Texans. I guess that will depend on what happens tomorrow for the Texans at Seattle. But that will be I would suspect, a defensive game. And I do expect Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall to play in that game. For the Falcons, they play the Dolphins. That should be a win and a bit of a bounce-back game at home. And then they take on the Patriots in New England, which is going to be a really tough test. And then they play the Colts. So that's arguably the two best teams in the AFC right now. So that's going to be pretty tough. But, yeah, Niners, that's a huge win for their playoff odds, especially beating a team like Atlanta, who's also in that wild card type of race. So big win by the 49ers, extremely impressive coaching performance, CMC the MVP. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below. It's Mitch, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace. There we go, mouse.